We think of tourism as this amazing doorway to new cultures, right? And for the places we visit, it can be a total economic lifeline. But is it always a good thing? That's what we're digging into today. Is tourism a blessing, or is it actually a blight? Let's get into it.
So a lot of this starts with our search for something, well, real. Travelers today, we're not just looking for a pretty picture for Instagram. We want a genuine connection. And that desire for the real deal has kicked off this whole movement of township tourism, especially in places with deep, complicated histories, like South Africa.
And that's the big question, isn't it? When an experience is all packaged up for a visitor, how real can it possibly be? And, more importantly, who's really cashing in on this search for authenticity, and who might be paying a price we don't see?
To really get this, we've got to look at Soweto. Now, this was a place designed by the apartheid government to keep black laborers separate, but it became this global symbol of resistance, especially after the student uprising in 1976. I mean, this is a place just steeped in the history of struggle.
And today, that very legacy of pain and unbelievable resilience has turned it into this powerful, if unlikely, tourist hotspot. We're talking hundreds of visitors every single day, coming to understand its past and to feel the vibrant culture of what's become the new South Africa.
Okay, so first, let's look at the blessing side of all this, because for a lot of people living there, the arrival of tourists feels like a real tangible promise of a better future. And it's not just about money, it's about culture too.
And check this out, it's not just a feeling. When you survey the residents of Soweto, you see this strong belief that tourism really does boost cultural pride and improve life in the community. And look, that feeling is even stronger for the families who are actually making a living from it. For them, the benefits are crystal clear. This quote, wow, it just perfectly captures that power. It's from a woman in a community that had been saddled with this awful, derogatory nickname. But through tourism, they started to see their own history not as a source of shame, but as a badge of honor, a symbol of their resilience. That is a massive, profound shift in thinking.
And who's at the very heart of this story of opportunity? Women. This number, 70%, it's absolutely staggering. It tells you that women aren't just part of South Africa's tourism industry. In so many ways, they are the industry. They are the engine. For Black women especially, who were the most marginalized group under apartheid, tourism has kicked open doors that were welded shut. It's created these new paths to owning their own businesses, guest houses, B&Bs, and the legendary shebeens, the local taverns that are really the social heartbeat of the townships.
It's a really positive, powerful story, for sure. But if we stop there, we are only seeing half the picture. The promise of pride and a paycheck doesn't just erase all the complex power dynamics that are bubbling just below the surface.
And that brings us to the other side of the coin, the hidden costs. This is where we have to ask that tough question. What if tourism starts to feel more like a blight? What if the experience for the people who live there is, well, very, very different?
Just look at this contrast. It's so stark. On one side of the street, you've got the tourist experience, looking out from a comfy, air-conditioned bus, maybe stopping at a safe tavern that's been set up for visitors, buying a souvenir. And on the other side, the daily reality for so many residents, small matchbox houses, squatter camps, often without basic things like running water, with their whole lives just put on display.
And this is what that feels like. This quote from a local business owner, it just cuts right to the bone. Imagine feeling like you're living in a zoo, when your home, your family, your life becomes a spectacle for strangers. It's deeply dehumanizing. It kind of echoes this painful history of being watched and analyzed from the outside.
And then there's the money. You got to follow the money. A huge chunk of the profits goes to a handful of tour operators, and a lot of them don't even live in the community. A much smaller slice goes to the locals right near the tourist trail, but for most of the community, they see very little of that tourist cash.
This pressure for cash leads to another huge problem: culture becoming a commodity. The real worry is that traditions get watered down, simplified, or even twisted into something they're not, just to make them an easy sell for tourists. It's a cruel irony, right? The search for authenticity could end up destroying the very thing it's looking for.
So, let's bring it back to the women. Where do they fit in this much messier picture? We already said they're the engine of the industry. But being on the front line means you face the biggest risks along with the biggest opportunities. It's a total paradox.
And this lays that paradox out perfectly. On the one hand, women are the main service providers. They're the entrepreneurs. They are literally the face of hospitality. But on the other hand, they're often stuck in low-paying, low-skilled jobs. And get this, they make up 70% of the workforce, but hold less than 8% of the board positions. The systemic inequality is still a massive wall to climb.
And this inequality is often fueled by these really damaging, old-school colonial stereotypes. The tourist gaze can sometimes reinforce this awful image of African women as exotic objects to be looked at, instead of the powerful business owners and community leaders they actually are. It's a narrative that tries to strip them of their power.
So for a woman trying to build her own business in this world, the hurdles are very real. I mean, look at this list. It's everything from not being able to get a loan, to a lack of training, to just plain old societal bias, plus trying to balance running a business with family life. Every single one of these makes that path to success incredibly steep.
And this is so important. A job is not the same thing as empowerment. Real, lasting change needs something more. It needs a real shift in who holds the power. It requires what's called agency.
So what is agency? It's basically the power to call your own shots. It's the ability to have control over your own life. It's about going from being a passive pawn in the tourism game to being an active architect of its future. It's about having a voice and the power to make sure that voice is actually heard. So how do we actually get there? Well, the path is pretty clear. It all starts with giving the community, especially the women, a real seat at the table when tourism is being planned. It means they get to control how their own culture is shown to the world. It means real access to training and skills. And ultimately, it's about them owning their own story.
But even with all these barriers, the spirit of these women entrepreneurs is just unbreakable. This quote from a guest house owner, it says it all, doesn't it? It's a challenge, a refusal to be held back, and it's just this incredible testament to their strength.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, but with a totally new lens. Tourism is this immense force, right? It can build people up, and it can turn them into a product, it can empower, and it can exploit. So the next time you travel, we'll leave you with this to think about. In that exchange between you and your host, who is really telling the story? Who's getting the rewards? And who actually holds the power?